Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of CleoCast. My name is Matt.
And I am RC.
Anyway, so I saw some old renders of the what would have been the Royals and Chiefs Stadium if they combined, which was going to be near the Crossroads the other day.
Is it the one with the roof?
Yeah, it's the one with the roof. But because I sent you that video on the Kansas City Athletics, which is now the Oakland, soon to be Las Vegas A's.
Haven't watched it yet.
Yeah. So the owner didn't actually want to share a stadium with the Chiefs because they were sharing a municipal stadium, and he got mad because originally the founder of the Chiefs, who moved it up to Kansas City, Lamar Hunt, got a $1 a year lease at Municipal Stadium, and the owner of the Athletics weren't getting a $1 lease. So he threw a fit, tried to get a $1 lease, and then they were going to build a new stadium, but he didn't want to share it with the Chiefs anymore. So that's why they built the Truman Sports Complex with Kauffman on one end and the Arrowhead on the other. But then he basically took dwindling attendance at Municipal Stadium while his stadium was being basically planned to be built to dip out to Oakland. Yeah, but I'd like to thank a Missouri senator who threw an absolute temper tantrum and threatened to remove MLB's antitrust-like protections.
You know, I kind of miss when businesses, maybe I don't, but I kind of miss when like organizations or businesses were actually scared when some random senator threatened them.
Yeah.
Like, I guess there are some things that wouldn't be good for that to happen with, but you know, it's just like, it must have been nice back when it's like, yeah, these people I'm voting for actually have any form of power whatsoever. Like, they're not just figureheads that press the yes vote on everything.
Yeah, and it's like just absolutely insane that like that's how Kansas City magically got snapped to get the Royals.
Because it was the not the Seahawks, the Mariners. It was the Mariners were going to be the expansion team, and then the Royals just kind of got shoved in there with them, right?
Well, so it was really going to be the Seattle, I think it was the Seattle Pilots or something like that.
Yeah, Pilots.
And they moved to Montreal almost immediately afterwards, I think. And that's why they got the Expos. And then they did another expansion like a year or two later, which got the Mariners there.
I feel like we need more sports like expansion teams. Like, I feel like we had a bunch in like the 60s and 70s and 80s. We had some in like the 90s and 2000s.
What do you mean? There was a hockey expansion like not even a few years ago.
I don't care about hockey though. I'm talking like the real sports like baseball and NBA and lacrosse.
Not the NFL? You don't want another NFL team?
I guess we could do another NFL team. I'm just worried that they're going to do like a Germany one, which would be really annoying.
Just two expansion teams, one in London and one in like Frankfurt or something.
And one in Mexico City. It's just like here, it's the international division where we're just going to jet lag the fuck out of some people from other countries.
I've always thought that a good MLB expansion site would be Puerto Rico, though.
That would be killer, though. We need
like,
to get that.
Imagine how insane, like, if you just simply, like, priced it, like, where it's, like, super cheap to go, and it's U.S. territory anyway, so you don't have to worry about passport controls. That would be basically, like, Latin America's team at that point, right?
We almost need to do, like, because baseball has so many games, we wouldn't need to crush it like the NFL would. We almost need to have like the international division where it's like 5 teams. They only have to play like 60 games, but they do have to like fly really far to get it.
Yeah.
We need to put like 2 in Japan, 1 in Puerto Rico, and then like talk to like Venezuela or like Mexico or something. Because like I know the World Baseball Classic, if you remember, that Japan team, it's like, oh my God. They got Shohei Ohtani as like the big star, but it's just like, man, their baseball culture over there is so much more fun than ours because it's not so regimented, you know?
Yeah, there isn't like unwritten rules that we're maintaining from the 1930s.
You can't do the bat flip because like Jim, who's 97 and, you know, like whatever, doesn't like it. And it's like, come on, guys, it's fun. Like, come on. That's like, if you want the younger people to actually watch baseball, you can't just like stamp out every single thing that the players figure out how to do that's actually fun. Like, it's so lame.
And I know, like, I mean, I'd like to see a Japanese baseball game, but I know like other bat sports have the same issue. Like cricket is suffering from a same situation where they're trying to shorten the amount of time it's played.
Well, I know in Japan it is actually like popping off. I think they're doing a lot better than we are, just because they embrace the kind of fun aspects. They have like the wacky. I saw some. I think they had the manager fly out to the field on a jetpack, and he had like the cool Metal Gear style opening. It's like, and here's the manager of the team. Like, I'm not gonna say a Japanese name, but him. And it's like he's like all cool and stuff, and it's just like, yeah, no, it's just fun. You know, we're just gonna hit a ball with a stick, but we're just like making it cool. Kind of like, maybe not as much like, but kind of like the bananas, the Savannah Bananas, how they're just kind of like doing the wacky stuff.
Where they're like basically the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball, but they're actually like able to lose games.
Yeah, because they play like the KC Monarchs. And get their asses kicked.
Where they're just like, I'm on the stills, and I'm just like, one guy's just like, I have a dream of going to the MLB, but it's not going to happen. I'm in the Kansas City Monarchs.
It's like, I get paid $10,000 a month, and I am going to kill you, so I get to like actually play for the Royals, who are the worst team in baseball.
Anyway, back to the Royals. Have you been seeing the rumors that they might move to Nashville?
I can't say that on like YouTube or whatever, but John Sherman has an address, guys. If they actually try to move the freaking Royals out of the city,
the team literally Thanos snapped into existence because one senator got mad that Kansas City was losing a team.
We should like pass legislation that like the city nationalizes the team if they try to move. Like, I'm not joking.
You mean what Baltimore tried to do with the Baltimore Colts? Which means
but we do it with guns. We mobilize the National Guard. Like, I'm serious.
You realize that like the Nashville will do what Indianapolis did and just like somehow secretly move them out, right?
Not if we surround. Like once again, these people, like the team has an address. Like, we know where they live.
What are we gonna keep them in like Jackson County Jail and take them out every time they need to go play and just drive them?
Not the players. We're gonna keep the owner in Jackson County Jail for violating the "you can't move the Royals out of Kansas City" law. Make it a Class 1 felony. John Sherman needs to figure out what the hell is going on with the stadium before he can think about moving anywhere else. Because, I mean, like, think if you're Nashville and it's like, well, here's this guy who's talking about the worst team in baseball, and he wants, like, maybe a $1 billion, maybe a $5 billion stadium. You got to look at that and be like, okay, how bad do we want a team? Do we want a team like $6 billion bad? Do we want the worst team in baseball for, like, $2 billion? Like...
Well, yes, because I feel like almost any city would trip over their own like dick in order to get a major American sport. But the
Royals are just lucky the MLB doesn't have regulation. That's all I'll say. Or relegation.
Yeah. But I would be so embarrassed after how much like crap I've given St. Louis people for losing the Rams in something that's not even their fault. If the Royals just leave and then Kansas City has to deal with the fact that they lost the worst team in baseball.
Say what you will about the worst team in baseball. At least they are like original to Kansas City. They're one of like the few MLB teams. Because like the Cardinals are like Ohio, right? Or something.
I have no idea.
I don't know either. We've done it again. 2 weeks in a row. We have talked about sports for 8 minutes to start the episode.
What are they expecting to have happen? They've listened to a few episodes, hopefully.
Yeah, honestly.
Anyway, all right. So
you should know by now. Just skip like maybe 10 minutes in, and you'll get to the actual episode.
So I'm not sure if we said it at the beginning, but this is part 2 of the Erie grocery store saga.
I guess we'll probably title it like that or something.
Yeah, we just it was running a bit long for how long we were going to do episodes, but it was going to be like, you know, we didn't want to shorten it up with what we wanted to say, but we also didn't want to run way longer than a regular run time. So we stopped it at around like a pretty like, I'd be at a little bit long, but normal runtime for our episode, and we're just going to do this in part 2.
Yeah, being honest, we could do like hour-long episodes. We just choose not to for your guys' sake. Like we intentionally try to keep the runtime around like 30, 40 minutes.
We have ran a little bit over before, but
a lot of the earlier Clio talks were like an hour, hour and a half, and it's like, well, that's not fair to you guys because you know you have lives. Yeah.
Anyway, so. We have another article. This is early. This is an article earlier than the other articles that were popping up. This is from thehustle.co. This was posted over a year ago. And this is, what is the title of this article?
It's the small town that saved its only grocery store by buying it. And it's basically, we've covered like the kind of more current events in the context of Chicago, and this is more just a kind of background. Here's just like about it.
Yeah.
There's just somebody writing about it without any of this like, well, here's what Chicago might do. So
Yeah.
it gives the town its own context.
The current event stuff is over, and we're just going to go deeper into what exactly goes on with Erie Market, or the markets in it's Stubbs Market.
No, it is Erie Market. This
No.
is a picture from before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, across rural America, I want to read the heading.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, I scrolled down.
Across rural America, independent grocery stores are shuttering. To keep its only store from joining the trend, one small town in Kansas got creative. This is by Michael Walters. This was written on
Waters. Michael Waters.
Michael Waters. I'm sorry, Michael. September 10th, 2022. In the final days of May 2020, residents of Erie, Kansas received a letter in the mail from their city government. Self-addressed envelope contained just one question. Do you support the city of Erie purchasing Stubbs Market? It was a dire moment for the residents of Erie, a town of around 1,000 people in southeastern Kansas. COVID-19 was raging, basic household items and food products were running out of stock, and Stubbs Market, the city-only grocery store, was on the verge of closing for good. What would have left Erie with only a Dollar General, a chain store with a poor selection of produce and fresh food, to find fresh meats and vegetables, residents, many of whom don't have cars, would have to travel 10 to 20 miles out of town.
That's a twist. I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
Many of them didn't have, like, just straight up don't have cars. I guess it does fit in line with what I know about small town, which is a lot of them have, like, golf carts or they just walk.
Yeah.
Like, they just walk. Like, you want to talk about urbanism, walkability, any of that stuff. Small towns, I mean, I do know this. The entire town of Erie, north to south, 2 miles.
Yeah.
Everything is walkable.
I mean, I know you spent a little bit of time in a different small town in Nebraska. I think it's probably a very similar deal, right?
Multiple small towns in Nebraska, multiple small towns in Kansas. Most of my family's from small towns. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's the same deal where they either just have like a golf cart or they just like you drive in from like Lincoln to wherever, which is how I got there. I drove from Kansas City to the small town, and then you just park your car and you don't need it the entire time you're there. Everything's just so close. I mean, it's like the local diner. It's like maybe a 5-minute walk across the entire town. So it's just like, Again, that's why it almost doesn't work bringing this to a Chicago context. Once again, coming back to that article we were talking about last week, is just a completely different type of living here.
Yeah. Also, to point out again, this echoed what we were talking about last week as well with the Dollar General. Like, Dollar General, basically, like if you like eating Spam, Dollar General.
I do like eating Spam.
I also like eating Spam, but I don't want to eat Spam for every single meal.
And Dollar General doesn't have the 25% less sodium Spam, which is the only kind of Spam you should be eating. So,
really?
Yeah, because there's so much salt in it. They sell 25% less sodium Spam for the exact same price. It as unhealthy as Spam is, you get a lot less sodium, so it kills you slower. Which might not be what you're going for if you eat Spam, but I do like Spam.
Spam is good, but I don't want to eat it for every meal. And if I'm going to Dollar General, and that's basically my only grocery option for like a ham-based protein.
That or corned beef hash, you know?
Yeah. Eating like I'm like fighting in World War II. So the city council decided it would do just about anything to keep its only grocery store open. In the subsequent weeks, responses to the poll began to trickle into Erie City Council. 311 households in Erie responded. Of those, the vast majority, 213 people, 68.5% of the population that voted yes.
Yeah. So.
What followed was a rare feat of community activism. To keep Stubbs Market from shuttering, the city government decided to buy it out.
So,
yeah,
this isn't the Soviet government, being a bunch of elites deciding, command economy. This is the people of Erie deciding to vote on this and being like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, this is the majority of the community.
I think 68. That's a super majority, isn't it? Like anything above 65%. So that's more votes than the Libertarians ever got.
Yeah. How Erie got its grocery store. Erie has all the quaint charm one might expect from a small middle America town. Its main attractions include a park with dinosaurs made from junk metal and a public library. Each July, it hosts an annual soldiers' reunion where residents cook beans in cast iron pots over open fires, watch fireworks, and admire antique cars.
Just quick, another dig on libertarians. I wonder how much that public library loses in a year. Should we shut down that too? Like, do you think the private company could run it better?
I think we
make
should
a real profit.
I think we would shut down that libertarian guy's mom.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Real quick, also, my cat wants out of the room.
Okay. I'm all right.
Joe, the cat wants out. Oh my god, that was so loud. Everyone say bye to Joe. She wants to go eat. Bye, Joe. Okay, that was such a loud meow.
All right. At one time, Erie had a thriving farming community, but today the town's core industry has largely disappeared. There's really not a lot of good jobs here, Julie Kent, the director of Erie's public library, told The Hustle. Through some farming jobs, though some farming jobs still exist, many of those drive outside of town for work, most often to an airplane parts manufacturer in the nearby town of Chanute.
Would you want to talk about another industry that's been gutted in Kansas?
Agriculture?
No, the airline industry, man.
Oh.
No, we used to be like Detroit, like for cars, but we were for planes. But like Boeing left Wichita a while ago, and we still have some, much like how Detroit still technically has the big three. But it's like, man, the airline manufacturing industry, Seattle kind of got that. Just like a lot of those plants moved out there. So, and that affects a lot of these areas too, because they're outside Wichita where all those used to be. So, man.
Like many other small towns, Erie's population waned in tandem with the decline of farming. Between 1980 and 2020, the town's official head count fell 26% to 1,047 residents.
Did you read that as 2002?
I did read that as in 2002.
Okay. I think, do you have dyslexia?
I might. This population collapse had cascading effects on local businesses within the city. With a shrinking pool of customers to serve, local stores struggled to turn a profit. This especially was true for Erie's grocery stores. The first warning signs occurred in 2012 when the city's grocery store, G&W Foods, abruptly closed because it was losing so much money. For 2 months, Erie didn't have a single grocery store. Residents who couldn't drive out of town depended on frozen meals from Dollar General. Getting fresh fruit and vegetables suddenly hinged on knowing someone who could make a delivery for them.
So bringing back to that Reason article, are you telling me there was context before the Wall Street Journal guy wrote his article? Are you telling me that things were happening and like private businesses were failing? Because I thought it was the free market. Like, I thought that businesses were just supposed to make money because they're smarter than the government. Like, period.
Also, if you didn't listen to last week's episode, you should probably listen to that because we're just going to dunk on this guy from a recent article from last week's episode this entire time.
I think we'll post the same sources in the first article on this article. I think we'll just keep the same sources list we usually do. Speaking of, we always put our sources in the bottom. And I think I'll go back and add the sources we use for this article to the first article as well. So that way you can just see everything we're using for both.
Yeah.
So,
but this is just our attempt to do context. All right. The city convinced Stubbs Market, which had previously occupied the location, to reopen its store before the end of the year. It worked, but only for a few years. The owners of Stubbs were looking to retire, and they couldn't run Erie's grocery store much longer. In the late 2010s, they put their store on sale, but no one was willing to buy it. It was an intractable problem that Cindy Stufenfire, the treasurer of Erie, learned about quickly. I
think it's Schoenhofer.
Schoenhofer. All right. Who works part-time for the city and part-time as a controller at the local nursing home, knew Erie couldn't afford to let Stubbs Market go. Losing a grocery store would lead to so much worse problems down the line if there was no place in the town to buy produce. Future residents might not move there. Like small towns, if you lose your school, then you sort of lose your town, Schoenhofer said. The grocery store is smaller. If you lose that, then you don't have people shopping in town.
Similar. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what we were getting at last time too, is if you're from Chicago, even if you're from Kansas City, if you're from any city of over maybe 10,000 people, you have to take it in your head that it's not just a policy difference. It's not just that, well, should we make this a bike lane or not? It's not just, wow, should we make the tax rate like 1% or 1.5%? It's if we do this or not, this might kill the town. Like, we might our property values might become zero because everyone will move out. Like all the investment we've had, the families we've raised, all the memories we have, the town might die. It might be just become a ghost town. Like that's the stakes for these types of towns. It's not Chicago. It's not New York. New York, if they decide to, change the garbage truck manufacturer or something, that's not going to kill the town. There's no real honest, legitimate threat of that happening. That's not something that they ever take into account. And I don't think the guy writing that Reason article, the libertarian dude, I don't think that he ever actually thought, oh, wait, this is like a life or death for the town type policy thing. And that's the major difference. It's not like addressing food desert here. It's not we don't have like that many food choices in these neighborhoods. It's we don't have a grocery store, and people are going to move out because Chanute has a grocery store, Wichita has a grocery store, Pittsburgh has a grocery store. Like, we might lose the town.
We've had a guest on this podcast before. He was on the land value tax episode, Ben. Now, Ben's family is from, this is an anecdote in the middle of an article, but I'm just going to do it. His family's from a small town pretty close to Erie and St. Paul. It's even smaller than these combined. It is actually pretty funny because basically it's like 4 houses and a church. But, I remember him telling me that there isn't a lot of people living down there other than his like grandmother, and that it used to be, southeastern Kansas used to be very, heavily populated in the grand scheme of things because there was not only industrial jobs, but also before that there was coal in southeastern Kansas. And southeastern Kansas used to be and there was also like rail connections and whatnot. And it was one of those things where, there's rival chicken chains down there in Pittsburgh that people like really have a cultural connection to. And southeastern Kansas is a weird kind of like dying / dead region of Kansas that used to have a very lively like population and culture and society around it. And it's sad that the only option to survive is to band together like this, but that's what allows St. Paul and Erie to survive.
Well, and that's kind of the whole discourse. Maybe not discourse is the right word, but just the whole thing about like flyover country. It's just like, it's fun when it's on the internet, right? It's like, just like people from the coast shit talking interior America, and maybe a large portion of interior America deserves some shit talking. But when you get down to the brass tacks, what's happening to a lot of people in these towns is they're seeing, the town again, imagine if you're from Chicago and then you're living there 20 years, you've lived there your entire life, but then one day it's like, oh yeah, it's gone. Like the city's, all the buildings are abandoned. Yeah. Everybody left. You can't comprehend that. But that's what's happening to these people. Is I've lived here my entire life, and I am soon not going to have the ability to live there.
Have your relatives ever experienced that? Because I know you have like family in kind of like southeast Kansas, but not this south.
Not mine, but I think Kelly's, my fiance's family has. The town that her dad is from is kind of undergoing this. I've been there, and it's. A lot of elderly people live there right now. A lot of elderly and some like people who still own farms and stuff. A lot of cattle ranching, but it's just kind of there's a lot of culture. People still have like their. People live there. Again, all of this. It's not like some like, wow, this is a town. It's not like some like Twitter or whatever like amorphous blob. This is a town where 1,000 people live. They have their own culture because people always have their own culture. They have their own celebrations. They all know each other. Like there's families, people's lives here. But the kids moved out of the town I'm talking about up in Nebraska because, there's more education opportunities. There's better jobs up in Lincoln. Kids, if they don't have the option to, if they don't want to farm, they're going to go to Lincoln and go to college and go do that because that's just what you do now, right? You don't have to farm. So you're left with a lot of older folks who either don't want to move because they've lived there their entire life, or they don't have the ability to move because there's not a lot of jobs, there's not a lot of opportunity. And if the property you own is in a small town, you got to remember how many people are moving there. Because if it's on the verge of decline, your house, you might not be able to sell it, period. Because you can't Airbnb it. If you're not by a major highway, there's not people like stopping through it. The railroad's shut down.
And that's why there's also a lot of those like free or very cheap land opportunities that I know a lot of Kansas towns, I know other towns do as well. I remember a few years ago we were looking at that one town would give you basically an abandoned Pizza Hut.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's funny to be like, oh yeah, I have the old Pizza Hut in this town, but it's just like this town was once large enough to support like a Pizza Hut in like the 70s.
And it's not even, I don't know. I think there is a tendency maybe online where things don't matter to just kind of disparage entire groups of people because it's very easy to do. But it's like a lot of these people turn to more populist politicians because they're seeing and this isn't from a like immigration or whatever standpoint. They're seeing their entire way of life disappear because their town is dying. And it's not from too many people. It's just from people don't come here anymore. So when they see a politician on either a state, local, or national scale actually point out their issues and be like, hi, even if they don't like actually address them or care about them, it's like, hey, there's somebody who's acknowledging
or
that we
people
exist.
Think that politician is acknowledging their existence.
Yeah, exactly. If they can project whatever they want onto it, but the fact of the matter is, the flyover country, like that's a term that exists. A lot of people just don't actually care, and I don't disparage them for it because I don't know why people in New York would care about people in Erie. Like I live in Kansas City, and I can't honestly say that I care about them either. It's just that's how it works. I don't think about them that often.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know Erie existed until this popped up. And
yeah, that's fair.
I'm sorry, Erie, that we've been.
That's just how it works. I mean, there's tons of small towns all across the country that you can't know they exist. I mean, but once again, it's not a big city in the scale of things, but it's also 1,000 people. Like that's larger than my graduating class, and I didn't go to a very small high school, so it's like that's not an insignificant amount of people. But I guess in a scale sort of way it is, I guess. But
yeah,
I don't know.
All right, America's rural grocery store problem. Back to the article. Across the U.S., countless rural towns are confronting the same dilemma as Erie. Between 1990 and 2015, rural non-metro counties lost 39% of their grocery stores, according to the report by the USDA. 39%, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Central to the problem is the fact that grocery stores run on razor-thin margins, especially in rural areas. In 2020, a survey of Minnesota grocery stores in towns under 2.5 people found that the average profit 2.5 thousand people, not 2.5 people. That'd be insane.
Stores, it's just a house. How do you have a half a person living in a house?
There was an accident. The average profit was just 1.1%. Wow, that is tight. That means that
that reminds me of when we worked at I'm going to name it because I don't care. Quick Trip.
Yeah.
The spiel they'd give you on how now see this dime is how much we make, but then you got to take out the 2 cents for you and that stuff. You remember that?
Yeah.
Like for every dollar we make, only 10 cents of that is profit. That was just it. Just reminded me of that.
Except they make a bunch of profit off of gasoline and pretzels and shit.
Oh yeah.
That means even the slightest change, inflation, say, or rising costs from the supply chain delays can quickly erase any earnings. Even the biggest chains like Kroger just earn a little over 2 cents for every dollar spent, but they can make up for it with the volume of sales. Small town grocery stores don't have that luxury. And we have some pictures of some like rural grocery stores.
That one right here, that obviously this is an audio-based format, but the top one reminds me exactly of like 3 different stores I've been to because in small towns. They're great. They usually have pretty good burgers. It's a lot of those places.
Yeah.
because it's just people who like make really good burgers. You know, they got like grease. It's not like McDonald's, right? It's just like, I don't know.
There's always like a child of like a person who works there that's just running around,
Yes.
and it's just like, are you just the store child?
Yeah. Oh, and the wasps' nest are great. 'Cause, like the one I'm talking about, I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to like dox anyone, but like it's like a drive up. It's great. They like it's kind of like Sonic, but they're not on roller skates. And like you have to roll up the windows though because the wasps will get into your car because they just got a gigantic wasp nest.
I've been there, right?
Yeah, you've been there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But, and I was curious if it was in that town.
Yeah, actually, so the one I'm talking about actually went out of business a couple years ago, so they got bought out by a different family in it. They either went out of business or they retired. So you have been to the successor to it, which is not quite as good as the original.
No, but I went with you when we were kids down there,
Oh,
right?
then yeah, you probably remember.
So I've been to both versions of it then,
Yes.
because I went there after I got my COVID shot.
Yes. So
plenty
of broader trends. Do you want to keep going?
Yeah, or you can take over if you want.
Plenty of this is like a list, so I'll take over. Plenty of broader trends are forcing independent grocery stores to shutter too. One, dollar stores and supercenters. So I think we talked about this last time, but the share of grocery stores in rural areas that are independent fell from 87% to 82% thanks to the encroachment of chain stores. As independent grocery stores disappear, supercenters are taking their place. The USDA found a 237% increase in the number of supercenters in these rural counties between 1990 and 2015. But many of these stores, especially dollar stores, don't have fresh food. So, two, depopulation. Between 2010 and 2020, the number of Americans living in rural areas fell by 0.6%. Quote, when there are fewer people in town, you just have fewer people that can support that business, said Erica Blair, the program manager of Rural Grocery Initiative, a group that also advised Erie. And three, secession crises. In Kansas, the rural grocery store owner is 57 years old, or the average grocery store owner is 57 years old, according to Justin Carter, a senior project manager at the Center for Rural Affairs. And, quote, they're having a lot of trouble finding new owners, end quote. Carter says the failure to secure a new generation of owners has caused many rural grocery stores to close. You're getting a situation where the current group of store owners are retiring and just nobody's taking over the store. To keep their stores from shuttering, some communities are applying a range of creative solutions, such as community-owned stores. When Hay Springs, Nebraska, a population of 600, lost its only grocery store in 2019, local advocates began pamphleting to convince residents to buy out the store as a collective. The Farm to Family Cooperative opened in 2021. Or self-serve stores, where in Evansville, Minnesota, a population of about 700, residents had to drive 40 miles to get many of their groceries. One couple opened Main Street Market, a 24-hour self-serve style grocery store accessible via an annual subscription of $75 a year. So $75, you get whatever you want, I guess.
Yeah.
Or public-private partnerships. Often cities might agree to cover a grocery store's rent in order to help it cut costs. In West Baltimore, for instance, the nonprofit Grocery Fresh at the Avenue operates out of a city-owned building. Erie's approach to turn its grocery store into a publicly funded enterprise is far less common, but it certainly isn't a standalone case. And then we got the St. Paul model. When the city of Erie was considering the proposal to buy Stubbs Market, the first thing Schoenhofer did was reach out to Erie's neighbor, St. Paul, Kansas, population 543. St. Paul is one of the only other places in the country, along with Baldwin Market in Baldwin, Florida, population of about 1.5 thousand people, and Caney Market of population 1.8 thousand people in Caney, Kansas, that accomplished what Erie was trying to do. The story of St. Paul dates back to 2005. I think we kind of talked about this in the last episode, but I think the Wall Street Journal article goes into it less here.
Yeah.
When a man named Rick Giefer became mayor. The city hadn't had a full-scale grocery store since 1985, and Giefer decided to change that. In 2008, he used city funding to get a new store, St. Paul's Supermarket, off the ground. In 2013, when the couple who ran the store was starting down retirement, Giefer convinced the city to buy it outright. In 2019, Schoenhofer drove to St. Paul to meet with that city's clerk, who gave her some tips. The experiment, Schoenhofer found, had been a success. The St. Paul grocery employs 15 people, and it turns a profit of 3%, slightly better than the average for rural grocery stores. It has also kept people, and spending money, in town. Similarly, in Erie, residents show up to Erie Market for fresh lunches, like a barbecue pulled pork sandwich or taco on Taco Tuesday. Other positive developments have followed. Erie just opened a new daycare center, a new restaurant, and a new coffee shop. Quote, once the ball started rolling, we started getting people saying, well, we could do this and we could do this, Kent said. By the fall of 2020, after collecting feedback from residents, the city of Erie had agreed to purchase Stubbs Market. The cost, $300,000, plus the cost of inventory, about $100,000, and a 0.5% cut to the store's previous owners for the next 10 years, in total about less than $500,000. At the start of 2021, the city became the official owner of the store. The city council renamed it to Erie Market, and it hired a manager with retail experience to run the store on the city's behalf. Getting back to that Reason article, talking about it being rocket science or whatever, you can just hire somebody who runs a grocery store to run the grocery store. You don't need to have, like, the city clerk do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's incredible how that works.
Also, I do like how the other examples are all mainly Kansas-based.
Yeah, because Kansas is like a liberal enclave that votes Republican. I'm not expounding on that.
Yeah.
Back to the Chicago example, though. If people of Chicago wanted to do it, they, once again, could just hire somebody who manages a Kroger to manage their grocery store. It's really not that hard. I've done it.
Ooh, Mr. Grocery Store over here.
Yeah, I know. Like the gas station at a grocery store, isn't it great?
Yeah.
I'm the true modern-day proletariat. Anyways, so far the city of Erie has taken a mostly hands-off approach to running Erie Market. The store manager submits a monthly report to the city about finances. Erie will only step in if it slips into the red. Quote, we run it as a utility like we do the electric bill and the water bill, end quote, Schoenhofer said. Just like a water bill, if the cost of running the store goes up, Erie would add a small amount, less than $5 per month, to each resident's utility bill to make up the difference. Would you pay $5 a month to be able to buy food in your town?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think I would too.
Yeah.
Erie hasn't had to do that yet, but rising inflation is making the city council nervous. Erie Market's food suppliers are charging more on wholesale orders, and the store is passing some of the increased costs on to customers. But when it comes to inflation, running the store as a public utility has an upside. According to Schoenhofer, the city council is looking to reducing the markup it adds to the groceries it sells. Erie Market, after all, needs to break even, not make a huge profit. Once again, it only needs to break even, not make a huge profit. Its first priority is getting residents in the door. So once again, the article that we're besmirching this entire time by the Reason guy, it doesn't need to make money. It just needs to break even, and it doesn't even need to do that because it's a city municipality. You know, if the power company doesn't make money, then you can just raise taxes slightly to get it back in the black, you know? And also, with like inflation and stuff, that's another factor he didn't really mention in is it's more expensive to do things now. And like city budgets haven't necessarily adjusted perfectly.
Well, I mean, that's background on Erie Market. I mean, good for Erie.
Yeah.
We should go down there.
We should. I need to do a whole like Wichita trip. I haven't been to Pittsburgh in a while. Have you ever been? There's a bison reserve down by Pittsburgh.
I have not been there. I have just been to the chicken restaurants.
The chicken restaurants.
Have you been to Chicken Annie's or Chicken Mary's?
I've heard of them. I don't think I've been.
We do need to go. I mean, I took a friend down there for his birthday, and he went to Chicken Annie's, and like we ordered gizzards. And his girlfriend and my girlfriend were like completely repulsed by the idea of gizzards.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How were they?
They were good. Gizzards are good. They just didn't think that they were like appetizing at all.
Yeah. How do they serve them? Is it just like
fried in a bowl?
Okay, fried at least.
Yeah.
Good. Do you have to use a fork or
Yeah.
use fingers?
You can use a fork.
See, I really like the liver. They have it like Chinese restaurants. The liver dumplings, those things are good. Yeah, it's down by Pittsburgh somewhere though. There is a bison reserve. They've got like a couple hundred. It's pretty cool. I mean, you can't really like walk in there, but it's neat. Southeast Kansas, I don't know, doesn't get appreciated enough.
Yeah.
Granted, okay, that's our personal bias is Western Kansas past Wichita. I think for both of us basically does not exist except for I-70. So that is our personal biases we need to correct. I've been to Dodge City. I've been to Liberal. They're both really cool. I've been to Greensburg.
I have been meaning to go to Victoria, Kansas.
Yeah.
Scroll over by Hayes.
By Hayes.
Hayes, Kansas.
I'm going to show my West Coast bias. Okay, there's Hayes.
Now, move. You can see Victoria.
Yeah, Victoria. I've definitely driven past it, yeah.
Yeah. What's its picture on Google?
A big cathedral?
Yeah. They have a, like, massive church with a monastery here.
Like an actual monastery?
Like an actual, like, there's actual monks.
The monks of Victoria, Kansas?
Yeah, go over by the church.
Is it St. Fidelis Basilica?
Yeah, and then there's St. Fidelis Friary. There's friars, which are monks.
What the hell?
Yeah, there's like monks.
Okay.
And it's a big church.
God damn, dude. Yeah, that thing is big. I didn't know that existed. Have you... Okay. Mount Sunflower, we've got to go at some point.
Yeah, we also go to the, what is it? The Kansas Badlands, Jordan National or Jordan State Park or whatever.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
I haven't actually been to the Flint Hills, like, monument or museum or whatever. Like, the visitor center for that. I've just driven through the Flint Hills. Yeah, the Kansas Cimarron National Grassland. By the way, if you guys ever do go to, like, liberal Kansas, which... Why would you? But if you have ever been there, like random viewer from wherever you're listening from, they have a really cool air museum there.
I really enjoyed the story you told me, which came from the museum curator, which was that they don't have engines in the planes anymore.
In the F-14s.
Yeah.
Because they got F-14s out on the tarmac. And because they're out on the tarmac, like some people from the Air Force came and were like, hey, bud, you got to take, like, we're taking the engines out of these because they said Iranians will come to the museum, come in the middle of the night and steal parts from them to operate their Air Force. Because obviously we like semi-embargo. We stopped operating the F-14 in this country because Iran has F-14s. So we tried to clamp down on all the spare parts. So like random museum in Southwest Kansas can't have
engines in the...
Yeah, they came and forcibly stripped them out, but it's a really cool museum. And if you go there, the museum curator will just follow you and talk to you about every single place in there because it's like a small town museum. They're the coolest. Remember that one we went to in Wichita?
Oh, where the guy was really weird?
Yeah, it was just some dude's collection. No, look at this. Look at on Google Maps, you can like see a photo of it. They've got it was a Star Chaser or whatever, the Cessna.
Yeah.
The really cool one with the it's a push prop, so the propeller's on the back of it. They only made like 30 of them, I think. But, you know, the one in Wichita, I'm getting on a tangent. I'm on airplanes right now.
Yeah.
The one in Wichita was just like some dude's personal collection that he charges you $5 to look at.
No. It was $6. It was $5 on the website. And then we got there and it was $6. And I believe it was cash only as well. So we had to like do the awkward, like give him a 20s and have him break change.
Yeah. It was kind of awkward, and he like was just sitting there in his like VHS collection playing like, you know, like the random military videos they'll have when you go to like a museum.
Yeah.
It's like, here's a VHS tape we made in 1972. Dodge City's cool. I don't know. Go to more small towns, people.
I mean, we need to go to Russell.
I think I've been to Russell. That name sounds familiar.
Yeah, I mean, it is on I-70.
Yeah. Definitely been there. Anyways, small towns, that's our pitch for this. Is they get a bad rap, but if you go there and spend your money there, they could probably really use it because they just get shit on constantly, and they don't get a lot of investment because they're small towns and they're not towns of 1 million people. And even a lot of the topics we cover are very, like some of the Kansas topics are very, let's invest basically all the money of the state budget into like a tiny metro area on the east side of the state and like nothing into the rest of it. You know, like when we're talking about building a commuter rail, it's like, yeah, that would be a lot of people and like, you know, like
okay,
Hayes, Kansas paying for a Johnson County commuter rail system.
Yes, but also the majority of the state lives within like...
Which is true, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. You're not wrong, but yeah. Anyways.
All right. Well,
jeez, I think this one might be longer than last week's.
Oh, dang! I thought this one would be like running way shorter because this is just a follow up. All right,
we're about 45 minutes, so we need to wrap it up.
Okay. This has been another episode of the CleoCast. I've been Matt.
And I have been RC.
All right, you can follow us on Twitter at Clio History. You can email us at cleohistorypodcast@gmail.com. You can get us wherever you get podcasts. Please give us a like and a follow or whatever on whatever podcast thing you have, or a review or something, whatever.
We've gotten
works.
a lot of stars on Spotify. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.